I think it's 15 nanograms of active THC in your system. It's not easy enough to roadside test. They're going to have to figure out a different system for testing if they actually want to enforce it, because the DUI with alcohol is there's the odor, you're getting the eyes and the speech, and their cognitive system is clearly impaired. With weed, it's kind of like, what are you worried about? They're driving 15 under the speed limit, and they got both hands on the steering wheel because they feel like it's sideways.
Yeah, using their blinker too early.
I've never been to a violent domestic violence situation that involved weed. I have with alcohol almost every time. I've never been to a multiple fatality traffic accident that was all weed. I have with alcohol multiple times. So I'm not here trying to condemn alcohol.
It's a place and time for it in moderation.
Yeah. And some people are never affected by alcohol, which is kind of like nicotine to me. I don't understand how anybody can casually enjoy nicotine. It just doesn't make sense to the chemistry of my brain. It's the same with alcohol. Like, I'm not somebody who can go out and have 2-3 drinks with dinner and then go home and go to sleep. I'm either getting after it or I'm not doing it at all. But weed, for me, if I eat a little bit, it just makes me tired and I go to sleep.
Right.
It's pretty fucking awesome.
Gets me locked in. Right.
Yeah. And it's got a lot of benefits to it, as far as like helping with inflammation, like the CBD aspect, helping with inflammation, like not pain tolerance, but like pain inhibitors, like within the THC or what have you. There's all these like side benefits that are like so beneficial. And going back to your point, as far as like agencies recognizing the alternative methods to treat. This is, if we are really truly serious as a society and not just making like a hashtag or @ or whatever, like we're really truly serious about it, then we need to consider like all these other alternatives, because the science is promising. And when you have the level of side effects being very low, if any, with some of these, it seems like a no-brainer. However, I do understand that that's not how the world works, and when you throw money into it, people's pockets are used to getting lined with pharmaceuticals. They're going to get lighter, and they're not going to want that. So there's going to be a push, and of misinformation is going to be being pushed out to fight against this. Which is unfortunate, because the only person that suffers is the families and the person dealing with it.
I honestly don't. I appreciate what you're saying, and mind you, I say all of this living in a community that is, for the most part, pretty open-minded, and have for long enough. I don't remember not doing it as like. But I just feel like culturally we've reached a point that whether people will openly admit it or not, they recognize that it's not just anybody that's going to be willing or able to go fulfill these jobs, and there is a necessity for them, both at home and abroad. So they need those seats filled, and they don't want to do it. They're thankful that there's somebody that does want to do it, and they recognize that those people are going to come home with baggage. Like we've gotten to that point, I think, as a society. Nobody seems to know definitively what to do to treat that, but I think we're at least getting to a place where there's enough desperation, and they're seeing enough people taking their own lives or ruining their own lives to one extent or another. that they realize there's a level of desperation here that can't be denied, and we need to take whatever steps are available and necessary. And thank God we have people like Kate and so many others that are kind of leading this this front to normalize alternative treatment methods, because they're seeing how effective it is. And it makes total sense, right? If you think about, we all love the Bruce Lee quote of "Be water." That's what this method is. It's a lot more organic, and you're not resisting anything. You're just allowing it to kind of wash over you. And it's a reconnection. I think a huge part of dealing with this affliction is losing a connection to your soul, or whatever spiritual connection you might have. I mean, I didn't feel like I had any connection to anything outside of this very, I put my gun on, I go to work, I grunt through everything, I take care of whatever I have to take care of. I come home, I wash and repeat and go back out. I had no connection to anything emotional whatsoever.
Right.
And that's a
part of a machine. Part of a
machine, and there's a whole lot of ego that goes into that, right?
Yep.
So I think most of our, call it spiritual connection, ends up wrapped up in that emotion of, these are my thoughts on, here's what keeps me safe, here's what keeps me going home. Whatever those elements are, that's what you feel connected to. When you do one of these processes that Kate's talking about, or these alternative methods, there's a reconnection to the soul. I mean, that's what you're going to get with the psilocybin experience if it's done properly, and the ayahuasca.
Have you personally done one of these sessions?
No, I've not done the session. I've definitely taken. I mean, I live in Colorado. I've taken some mushrooms in my day. I haven't yet. Psilocybin, anyways. That's the connection that's the best way that I would describe it. You kind of launch off into space for a little bit. Yeah, like transcend into a different reality that we don't yet understand. And I hear it's, from my own personal experiences with other hallucinogen, I do understand it to a base, like a certain level of, like, kind of coming to this profound experience and of being one. And you kind of hear that often with everything, but then coming out of it and then trying to relay that story to somebody else, and like when you try to say it, it's gone because it's so profound and so unique to you. It's like unquestionably similar to a dream, and sometimes we retain those dreams, sometimes they're just lost to us, right? But there's if you have a beneficial, good experience with it, and that's spoken about a lot, about how you kind of carry in your experience is going to reflect kind of your emotional state of being prior to ingesting whatever you're taking. So make sure you're in a good place. Right. It's the three things I always hear is time, place, and setting. Time, place, and setting. Like, and then you have to do it with a certain reverence. If you do it to get like fucked up or whatever, just to get high, like it usually doesn't result in this. Based off of what I've read and like other people's experiences, like especially like what ayahuasca, I saw a documentary, if you will, but it was like a personal journey of somebody going to one of these places, and they kind of walk you through the experience and what have you. First day, he took after he did his cleansing part, he did saw a shaman. They gave him X amount of dosage, and he had a like blissful experience, and he talked about it. The next day, he insisted on having more ayahuasca than they were recommending, and he said that was like a fucking nightmare. That like,
it's almost like it like taught them a lesson. You know what I mean? Like it humbled them on a spiritual level. It's like, no, because you wanted to like fuck around or whatever and not take it serious, and you know you can kind of have this, and that's kind of what like the basic thing. It's not. You're not shown what you want to see. You're shown what you need to see. You know, for you to kind of calibrate your direction, if you will, of like how we exist in this world. And so, like I don't have any personal experience with it, so I can only go based off of what others. But that is one of the biggest things I hear is time, place, and setting.